ladies and gentlemen, we're here. Yeah, did we skip a week again after we said we weren't going to do that? We sure did. But now we're here.
Everybody.
We got a packed house. We're doing a TikTok takeover. Misfit Farmers is taking over. Meet the critters. How is everybody? So everybody here, introduce yourself. Obviously, I'm Kyle. And
Joe.
Obviously, Joseph's here.
Yep.
Who else we got?
Oh. Aim with Butcher with a brain. Sorry.
Act like you've been here.
Oh,
And,
yeah, I'm here.
I'm Aaron on TikTok, aka Denner.
So for those who only watch us on YouTube, here on Meet the Critters, all of us are also over on TikTok. And Joe is almost there. You're almost at 1,000, right?
Yeah, I'm like 40 shy of 1,000. But I haven't been putting out videos the last couple of weeks because I've been so busy. Right. I think I could have hit it if I would have been putting out more content.
Yeah. Well, every Thursday over on TikTok, we do what we call Misfit Farmers, where we all get together and do a live for like an hour, hour and a half. And it's how often do we actually talk? Well, we talk farming a decent amount, but it just devolves into madness.
Yeah. We have our
it takes many different routes.
Yeah.
Every week. It'll start somewhere and end somewhere completely different. It's like a full circle.
I don't know if that's a circle.
No, well, it usually comes back because somehow someone brings something back up.
Aaron's chewing on something.
Good point. I'm just trying to compartmentalize all of that, and now my brain hurts.
Yeah. Again, because it's all of us, and what's interesting is we're all coming from the ag background in the thing, but we're all coming from very different perspectives of that background. So someone will bring one thing up, and based on like what we do professionally, what we raise, and where we're located, all of our answers are drastically different depending on what it is. So that's what's cool about it. And then once again, it devolves into madness. At least once every, I don't know, Ames, have you been on for a Misfits dating show yet?
What?
Oh.
No.
The early days.
The early days of Misfit Farmers.
No.
When there was like
Aaron. I think that's just Aaron's on that show. I don't need to. No.
Well, it's in the beginning of us doing Misfit Farmers, it had to have been at least 5 times. Just single women just started flooding in, and they just put a blanket statement of like, "Who's that single farmer?" And it's like, we're all farmers, and it's like, well, none of us are single except for Aaron.
Oh.
Usually they were throwing themselves at dry oaks.
Well, yeah, they're throwing themselves at Zach. Listen, we all completely understand what's happening here when we're all on screen. They're all throwing it at Zach, but that's because they can't see he's like 5'2".
Yeah, this is why men get more traction on TikTok.
That's it.
Because of all the lonely women.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
Yeah.
Because we're pretty.
Yeah. You think I'm going out and stroking my boar shirtless for nothing?
Well, I literally tried that.
I think that was happening before Kyle started using a camera.
I mean, it's not on camera, so we'll never know.
Exactly. We tried that.
We can
Kyle
guess.
Encouraged me to do a thirst trap, and I tried that. It didn't even. I got nothing. No traction.
But no, for a while there, and then it would be like an hour. Like we would be on the live for another hour, just asking 3 or 4 different women random questions to see if they were a suitable suitor for our friend Aaron. And it was those were so fun. They were so fun.
Yeah, that was like the first few episodes because I was just getting on TikTok and I'd watch those. Be like 11 o'clock at night here, and you guys would be trying to get someone for Aaron.
It would be so great. It was so much fun.
Aaron looks madly uncomfortable right now.
I know, it's great. And that's why, and hey kids, that's why we do it. That's why we play the game.
It is interesting the way that the lives evolve. We start out so serious, and then
Do we though?
Yeah, we had the Salatin conversation.
Yes.
If somebody
I think
brings
it's
something
Kyle's
up
fault.
right away,
Yeah.
I'm
If
okay
we
with that
start
idea.
off on a strong foot, yeah. And Joe's
I'm
absolutely
going to say it's Kyle's fault because no matter what he goes on, somehow it turns into chaos at the end. We get what, maybe 15 minutes on this?
maybe. It turns into utter madness.
and
I
then generally goes on a rant against kunes somewhere along the
Yep.
lines.
Yep.
Yeah.
Usually Coonies come up in a very negative connotation. Yeah, no, it's because again, we've talked about this. This show has taken so many different evolutions from like when I started as a solo show, where I was going to talk for an hour about one specific breed of livestock and where it came from and what it's come from and the best uses and my experience with it. And that lasted 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
Because
I missed those ones, Kyle. You should try that again.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
You could tell Kyle's eyes were like glazed over and he's reading from the sheet.
Well, to be fair, they were glazed over before I started the broadcast. That makes sense to everyone.
I was trying not to like point that out, but
in a way, it wasn't that surprising.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
But then again, like gone from then having guests on and then having Joe on as a co-host and us having, and for the beginning of like when you were on, Joe, we were still pretty rigid of like, we have guests on and we really like get down to the brass tacks of what are your practices? How are you doing this? Like this, that, and the other thing. And now what I love about this show is it reminds me of like when you went with your dad to the parts store when you were a kid and you were there for an hour and a half longer than you were supposed to be there. And like, you're just listening to your dad talk. It's like that old Montgomery Gentry song where he talks about his dad, like telling war stories. And he's like, I'm making a beeline for the door, but you always end up listening to everything. That's what I want this podcast to be, where it's like, are you coming here for an education? Probably not. But are you coming here to talk, like listen to a bunch of dudes or a bunch of people that are in farming and agriculture, shoot the shit and tell like quote unquote war stories? Yeah, basically.
I like the grain store.
Funny story.
He manages the grain store, so she would know.
My dad used to do that exact same stuff. Still does the same thing.
Yeah.
He'd stand there at the
Linda.
parts counter for
She's
2 or
the
3
best.
hours and jaw with everybody that walked in the door.
Oh yeah. Well, again, I'm that person at Clark's grain store in Ossipee. I literally just go in. It's like a daycare for my children at the same time. They just have free reign to run wherever. They go directly behind the counter and go right up to the desk where they have snacks, and they get snacks when they go in there. They run around. If I have the 2-year-old, she'll be climbing all over the bags of grain in the back. But
it's nice having those places, though.
Oh yeah.
So when you started this, Kyle, you started it as like goal to talk about specific breeds, not butchery.
Oh yeah. Well,
butchery that surprises me.
But butchering as well. Like it would start at where the breed came from, why they were produced, what they used to produce that breed, qualities, cons, and then like my experience with them, processing them, and like what the meat quality of it is. So I was planning on Aaron, if you need to do that, go right ahead. I just got text off screen. And yeah, that was the whole plan. But then like the first time, it was like going to be the first day I did the podcast. I went, all right, let's do this. Let's figure it out. And then I went, I have no notes. Like I have no information about, like I didn't do any research. So I'm like watching my kids Googling Hereford pigs and trying to gather all this information and writing down notes which I haven't done since high school, which I barely did in high school. And then when I got to like write to start the show, I realized I just did bullets. I didn't like write out a script on actually how to present all this information out. So like the first podcast was like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, because I went through an hour's worth of notes in like 5-10 minutes. Because I was like, I don't know how to put all these words together. There he is.
Much better. I tell you, my internet signal in this house is absolutely terrible half the time.
Yeah. Oh, I made the joke on a live the other day, but it's actually not even a joke. It's true. So I steal my neighbor's Wi-Fi in the shop. I don't steal it. I asked. I was like, hey, my shop is right next to your house. I can pay you for the Wi-Fi. Like, I'll pay you to do it. She's like, you don't have to pay me. Just use my Wi-Fi. And it's been working. I mean, we've had issues where it lags a little bit and stuff like that. Well, she has a new boyfriend. So they're there all the time. So both of their phones are on the network. So now there's not enough for me to steal. So now I haven't been going live in the I haven't gone live in the shop at all in the past like week and a half. So it's like I can see my follower count not dropping, but like staying stagnant because I'm not accruing 300 people a day doing lives.
The lives really do help pad the numbers, though.
They do a lot.
I mean, I think the one night I went live from the Versatile out in the field doing tillage that afternoon, I think I picked up like 300 in about like 5 hours. And all I was doing is driving back and forth and talking to people.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I haven't done a lot of the lives mostly because I have so much staff. I don't know. Joe, have you done any live? Like my staff doesn't really want. They don't.
No,
care,
I don't have.
Interact.
I'm not at the live point yet, but we're so busy. It's like one more thing to deal with right now. Because
and that's where I'm super lucky. Where it's I run my own business by myself. I work at my own pace, and I have the ability to just set it up and talk. Like
as long as the algorithm doesn't realize I'm going 5 miles an hour in the middle of a field, I'm gold.
Yeah.
So we're going to detour off of TikTok for a second because Lisa Robinson, who has been around since, I think Lisa's been there since day one.
Yeah, I was going to say right from the beginning.
Question, may I ask who the young lady is? I know you fellers, but I haven't met the lady.
Oh, hi. I'm Ames, and I'm a meat locker owner in the Midwest. So I'm a butcher as well. I primarily work the arboratory floor. I can process. If I do process, I process mostly small ruminant animals by myself. I can break down a beef, but like I own a locker, so I have staff. And one of the gentlemen that works for me has been doing it for 20 years. So he primarily runs the beef floor. And then I run the small ruminant floor. And then I run the arboratory floor. So that's what I do.
Man, that sounds like a dream.
It is.
I said this to you, Joe, when I was working with you. I'm like, I miss working a kill floor so bad. I think I said it while I was there. I was like, because I think Earl was like, because we were talking about working with me. I'm like, Earl, how's working with me? And he's like, whew. And I'm like, this was my element. Working a kill floor is 100% my element. Because it's literally running and gunning.
Yep.
You know, when I first owned the locker, there would be weeks I would go without working the kill floor. Like we have enough staff that I don't need to always be out there. And I realized that if I don't work the kill floor, I keep forgetting we're not on TikTok, so I can say this stuff. If I don't work the kill floor, I start hating my job. I don't want to own the locker anymore. I don't want to be there. I'm like, I hate this. Like, and I tell everybody, this is my happy place. Don't bother me on Tuesday and Wednesdays. If I am on the kill floor, no, I do not talk to people. Don't bring me the phone unless it's an emergency.
Right.
Like, and I even tell my inspectors, don't talk to me about that shit. Like, I feel like this is my day
I
to
know
remember why I do
that's
this.
and it's the very small percentage of the world that fully understands what you're saying. I understand what you're saying on a molecular level. There is a full my wife works Baylor shift. She works Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday. An hour and a half away. So she stays down south. So I have my children, who I love dearly, for 48 to 72 hours, like solo. There's a reason my slaughter days are on Monday.
Mhm.
Like Mondays are my day of rest, where I just get to wrestle a dead animal or multiple dead animals into submission, into the cooler all day. And it's like, oh, yes, I did something today. It's therapy.
It's awesome.
It's
I
fucked
just
up therapy.
realized.
I love working the slaughter floor, but it's like right now where I'm at with the business, my slaughter days are like 12 to 16 hours with what I'm taking on, because there's only 2 of us. And for the amount that we're doing, it just depends on how it goes for the day. It's slowed down the last couple of weeks, but we're still doing beef, pork. We're at 215 deer. And I picked up some extra stuff for Thanksgiving. I'll put it that way. I'm not putting it out there of what I'm doing, because I get too many phone calls as it is
Yeah.
that I have to turn down.
I know.
I just realized I'm the odd man out in this little group.
Oh,
I
you are
know.
I was gonna say, we got butcher, and you guys are on the disassembly side of the industry, and I'm strictly on the assembly side of it.
You are on the assembly, and you also know everything about
strictly.
the assembly side humanly possible.
Yeah.
I've
How
got
does
30
it
years
feel
of practice.
to be the one that doesn't know?
Right. But
Strange indeed.
We've said this on a live before. I guarantee it. I could any of the 3 of us could pull you into our shop for 4 hours, and you could work the rest of the 4-hour day without any supervision whatsoever.
Oh yeah.
I'd say a fair bet.
Yeah,
Pretty fair bet.
I would have absolutely zero issue being like, Aaron, do this, this, and this. If you have questions, ask. And I know I'm not getting a question.
You'll be fine.
Looking at my left hand, though, I might need one of those gloves. I'm just saying.
No, you cut yourself once or twice and start paying attention a little bit more.
Yeah. My stepdad always used to say, or he still says this, I don't know why he used to say it, but he's like, give that kid a screwdriver, he's going to find a way to stab himself. Turns out he gets a career working with knives. Who knew?
There you go. Oh, Lisa, by the way, I mean, I'm in Kansas. I'm not like,
No.
I don't hide it or anything. You can Google me and a ton of articles come up. I'm the only female locker owner, I think, within like probably 4 or 5 states around here. I don't know any other female, like single females that own a locker.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know, Joe, do you know
Tiffany's in
any?
Oklahoma, right?
Huh?
Tiffany's in Oklahoma, right?
Yeah, Tiffany's in Oklahoma. She runs the mobile.
Yeah, she runs a mobile trailer.
Is she on TikTok?
But she hasn't posted in a while.
Yeah,
she took a break.
Well, actually, when I started coming on this podcast with Kyle, there was Josh, which he was a butcher. And then we did a butcher roundtable with Tiffany. She was on a couple of our
Yeah.
Is she like
podcasts.
a skinnier, brown-haired gal?
Yep.
What's her TikTok name?
Backyard Butcher.
Okay. Yeah. I think I
because we're also
yeah.
None of us butchers are very creative with our names. Well,
Yeah.
Joe's is fine. Yours is the farm name, but we all have butcher in it somewhere.
Yeah.
It's our lifestyle.
Yep.
Yeah,
to the point.
Well, when I started all my content stuff, it was for the farm. The butcher shop actually came a few months after I started the YouTube channel.
Right.
Like that wasn't even a thing. And then I was approached to start the butcher shop, and it's literally been straight up since then. I haven't slowed down.
Again,
I think I had 2 weeks after hiring Jill and Earl that I didn't work more than 60 hours. I'm back up to, well, as of last night, I was 108 plus today.
Yay, dear.
And I just stopped like at 7:30.
Yeah.
So, but
Oh.
it's that time of year and it's still new. So
When I hear you're
If
up
there
over
are
200
any Minnesota deer hunters watching, work on your aim, please.
Oh,
that's
I can say
every
that.
deer
Oh.
hunter.
right? Every
I-
one of them. And like, it's called water. Like, I have a sign that says the hose is behind you, and they still can't figure it out. Just hose it down.
Yeah.
Like, just hose the inside of it down. Like,
Mhm.
why? Why do we not understand this concept? I know you field dressed it, but like, use some water on it. Especially
I
if you
looked at
got
one
some
guy.
damn thing.
I looked at one guy this year, and I was like, "Did you fashion a knife out of pine needles in the field?" And he goes, "No." Like he answered it. He answered earnestly. He's like, "No," and I'm like, "Then what happened?" He's like,
I
was in a pine
I think-
thicket." And I was like, "Hoses, dude."
think we're coming
So-
from two different standpoints here because Kyle, you should tell them about the video I sent you a week or two ago.
Right. You're saying get better aim to actually destroy these
Destroy.
things, get them out
Them
of your
out.
life.
Yeah, my
Oh.
couple people stopped. They're like, because last year it was pretty much me by myself. It was me by myself, my stepbrother, and my brother in here. And my brother works full time at a different shop, and so I was working a crazy amount of hours. I only did 75 deer last year, but I didn't have the power turned on until a day and a half before we opened. So I worked from 3:30 in the afternoon when they turned the power on until 4 a.m. the opening day, straight through. It was over 48 hours, just running equipment, doing maintenance on everything, making sure stuff was running right, just trying to get stuff running. I went home, slept for an hour, and then it was over 100 hours opening week of deer season after that. I don't know, 2-3 hours of sleep every night. It's like that every year.
Oh, the village.
I feel ashamed to say that I have with the 3 deer I have hanging, I've done 16.
Yeah, I know. I'm sitting here listening to Joe, and I'm like, that's great. That's really good for you. I don't push myself that hard, and I mean, granted, like, I have been through a lot medically, so I know I need like my sleep.
Mhm.
I do not want to. I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could do that. Having had cancer twice, there's no way I could do that.
I do have problem with not like taking time off. I have to accomplish something every day. Like even if it's not at the butcher shop, it's with the farm. Luckily, my stepbrother Logan that moved back to New York to help me at the farm, he's taken a lot off my shoulders there. But 1,600 deer so far.
That's awesome,
Holy
dude. Holy
shit.
shit.
I don't even think
How
we
many-
have 1,600
Wow.
deer in our county.
See, I don't push it. Like I don't advertise. I have a core group of dudes that
I
come
am
every
positive that I do.
Yeah. I don't make my money off deer. Like
Yeah.
I'm solo. I can only work I can only put out as much as I can take in. Like I busted my ass last week, got a whole bunch done all at once, and I went through the next morning and did my cut sheets or did my receipts. And I was like, as I'm doing it, I'm like, nice. And then I added them all together. I'm like, I could have done this with a beef in a day and a half.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
okay.
And that's why a lot of processors aren't doing deer anymore.
I only make money off deer if they want snack sticks or summer sausage or jerky.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like if they don't want those things, it doesn't make me any money.
Literally, if
at all.
I had one employee that was just on the cryovac machine all day, so I didn't have to completely stop, break down, clean, then go cryovac, or then clean that up and then go grind and then go cryovac again, I would double my production. And I would advertise. I would actually advertise that I do deer. Because it would be like, okay, then I could make money. I pay the guy every third deer or whatever. Like, hey, here you go. But when it's just me solo running around doing everything, it's not worth it.
So talking about deer, I don't know what
Well,
your
from
guys'
what you
setup
say,
is
you
with
got
your
one in training.
gate. Yeah, you got one in training. we can't dispose of any of the bones or anything in our state anymore.
Right.
So I don't know what you guys are doing, but I mean, like, we don't have anybody taking them because they have no way to get rid of any of the the bones
Mhm.
and dispose of them. We have an incinerator, so that's how I get rid of all the hides and bones. So I take bone in. Are you guys taking bone in?
Yep.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't ta-
whole
I don't
deer
take 'em
process.
in. I don't take them in
And then-
skinned. If I'm taking them
And-
in, hide on and everything.
Yeah.
Do you guys not have state regulations where the bones and the hides have to go to an incinerator?
No, we don't have CWD up here yet.
No, we don't.
Okay.
I mean, New York State's close watched, but I compost all my waste and I talked to the DEC about it and they were good with it as long as it stayed here. And I wasn't like shipping it out to compost. So if something up like, because I sent during bow season, they collect heads and they test for it in the local herds. So I just participate in that. And then the rest of the year, they're okay with it if it's not leaving my property. That's how we're doing it right now. But our rendering companies won't take the
They
deer.
won't take them.
So it does. How many employees do you have, Bearded Meat Bros? I'm interested because they moved. He said 137 today.
Yeah, and also, where are you? Because that's also a huge game changer.
'Cause
When I
that's what
say
I'm
I got
trying to figure out.
16 deer in, I got 16 deer in like upper central New Hampshire, where it's like we don't have a super heavy deer population. Yeah, there are shops around here that are probably doing more than me, but again, there are also shops with a whole bunch of employees that advertise. Uh-oh, now you're in trouble.
She'll be all right.
Hi.
She's gonna be with me all next week. She'll be fine.
Yeah, you got again,
What?
Michigan, New York, you guys have such a heavy deer population.
Yeah, but we don't have the hunters as much anymore. There's only a couple shops around me. I'm the DEC guy that ages. He said that I'm probably one of the larger deer processors in our county anyway. And not many people are up to what we're at. I think there's two other shops that are right around what we've taken in so far. And I'm not complaining for about numbers. What's that?
How big's the average deer that comes in for you guys?
Well, last year was the first year I took in 75. This year we weren't even sure.
How big are they?
Big?
When you saw my live, Kyle, I don't know, Joe, if you saw it. That
was a bruiser whitetail.
That's normal for us.
Yeah.
190 to 200 pounds is that's not big for us. That's normal.
Yeah.
If they're over
our big ones are
300, that's okay.
Yeah, our big deer are bigger. 190, 200 pounds. Yeah. Most of our doe are probably 110, 120 pounds max.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I mean, we have agriculture around here, but we don't have big ag. We have dairy farmers planting corn for silage and stuff, but we don't have. There's up north, the deer get a little bit bigger, like between us and Buffalo. They have more crop ground, but.
And that's my question for the Bearded Meat Bros too, is I don't know what Michigans look like. I know that when people come from the East Coast and they come from the South here, they just rave about our deer is twice the size. I mean, our does are easily 175.
Well, it's up here we have some big body deer, but they're you're going for them. They're out there. They're old growth deer that are
these aren't old.
No, these are if you're getting a 200 plus pound deer here, they're 5 or 6.
No, ours are 2 maybe.
Yeah.
And you saw the fat cover on it. I mean, the fat cover is beautiful on our deer.
Yeah, Aaron, how big are your deer out there?
When you guys are saying 100 pounds, are you talking a live weight or a field dressed weight?
I'm talking hanging weight.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
So hanging weight. I'd have to do some math. But I'll tell you this, I hit a button buck with a pickup truck. I think right around 185 pounds.
Jesus.
So we'll have to do the
It's all
math
those
on that.
field
He was
crops they got out there.
spike about like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
I think the biggest
I
one
live in row crop
hanging,
country. It's corn, soybeans, and alfalfa.
Yeah, the biggest one I have hanging currently is 147 pounds hang weight.
That's
And
it.
That's my biggest.
Holy cow!
I
We had
had,
one
I actually
last
had
year
a
that was
hermaphrodite.
360. It was a buck. It was massive. That is the
That's
biggest one, and that one was probably 7 years old, 5 or 7
The
years old.
biggest
I think.
one I've probably processed around here, it was a hermaphrodite buck last year, and that thing hung at 235. But the thing was marbled like beef because it didn't have no testosterone, and it was velvet antlers. It was pretty cool. Yeah, Danae still has pictures of it. That thing was massive. Because last year I was carrying them in that reefer trailer I have and hooking them up. I had to call someone to like hook the back leg when I was lifting it up.
That's crazy.
236. Yeah.
That's good size
So
deer.
his is about the same size as Western New York where I'm at.
Yeah. We just have no ag. We got nothing.
Yeah.
Deer out here.
Well,
they're just consistently massive here. They're all big. So
I was talking to some of the hunters here, and they've made it tough in New York between the regulations on, ammunition and everything else. Half the guys are like, why? They just changed the tags. Prices keep going up. Most of the hunters don't want to hunt anymore. We don't have the the hunting population. Used to be when I started hunting, it sounded like a war zone on opening day. You're lucky to hear 20, 30 gunshots. This opening day, that was probably the most gunshots I've heard in the last 5 years on an opening day.
You'll hear 2 or 3 the whole day.
Yeah.
But
That's crazy.
I haven't, but technical
So-
difficulties.
Aaron is struggling tonight.
Yeah.
all right, we still love
Yeah, I am.
him.
So
If it doesn't have a
we had an
diesel engine, I'm
interesting-
kind of useless.
we had an interesting one this week with the deer. I'd like your guys' take on this. You guys ever seen, you guys know, we do hundreds of thousands of deers over the years. You ever seen a gut shot that didn't have any blood stain around it? So I had a deer. The guys came up front and they go, there's something weird about this. There was bruising all down the back of the spine. It was a gut shot on the lower side. Is the only place we could find a hole in the hide. There was no staining on the muscle, no blood staining. It didn't smell like a gut shot on the inside. The whole carcass was green, like it'd probably been sitting somewhere for a while. The back, my opinion is something hit it.
Yeah, and he just shot.
Somebody shoved a knife into it because it did not look like an arrow. We're still in bow season.
Yeah.
It did not look like an arrow because you still get.
Yeah, so it was just a post-mortem
gut shot
thing.
Arrow is gonna go through and through.
Yeah,
There
in
was
that
no other
location for
side.
sure.
There was no other side to it. No other side. No exit wound. And there was no hair in the wound. Nothing. I was like, I'm calling bullshit.
That was post-mortem, if I had to guess.
Yeah, that's what and so we had to call the game warden, and I was like, this is post-mortem. And they were like, how do you know? I'm like, because I'll see them all the time. Like, this is post-mortem incision. It's like, I don't even know. And then I showed them all the bruising on the back, and it was kind of like.
Oh, I love it. I love it when the hunters ask, especially if it's a group of dudes. It's my favorite because usually they'll stay because if it's a nice buck, they'll wait for the hide to bring the taxidermist and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like they'll be like, "Oh, I shot it here," and it's like, okay. And if there's a whole group of dudes, I just turn into just the redneck version of that dude in CSI that does like the straws through the styrofoam heads but it's just my finger, and I'm going, nope, you're wrong.
Yep. It's like I don't know. Yeah. So anyways, we had to get the game warden, and then the police came, and I was like, oh great. So
All right. Well,
But-
Aaron's done trying for the night. He's going to join the
That's
chat on
totally
YouTube. We love you, Aaron. Yeah, it's interesting. My craziest one I ever got was, it was a good size 11 point. Like, I think it hung at, like, hang weight was, I think, around 160. It was a good size deer. But it was the kid's dad dropped it off. Like, his son had shot the deer and he was dropping it off for him. I'm like, yep, no worries. He drops it off and I start skinning it. And I asked where he shot it. And he said, kill shot was in the neck. And I'm like, okay, don't see anything different. Like, I didn't really check too hard. So I start skinning out the back legs. And I look, and on one shank, there was two bullet holes in like an entry and an exit. And I'm like, okay, that's fun. Skin out the second leg. There's an entry hole. And when I go down the second side, I find a 30-06 round. So this kid completely threaded the needle on a running deer, went in one shank, out, and into the next one, and the bullet got caught in the hide. So I'm like, okay. So I'm already painting a picture of how this hunt actually went. So it's like, okay, now this deer's lame, and it's just crawling.
Yep.
Then there was, once I start skinning down, there was an entry like up on the upper back going in. And I'm like, all right. I look in, tenderloin's gone, and it rode the spine back down like on the top side. So it was just went through the back strap and then came out. And I'm like, that one's fun. And it was, the kill shot was not in the neck. He walked up and he put it right here and just 30-06, like muzzle. You could see the muzzle burn, and he just poof. So then that went straight through every organ that was inside, and that I found that bullet lodged in the back leg.
I'm gonna, after we get off here, I'm gonna post pictures of a deer I took this week in the Telegram group.
Yeah.
You're gonna love this one, Kyle.
No, I probably am. But I took pictures of everything. Like, I took pictures of everything because I'm like, he's not going to get anything off of this deer. It's a nice deer.
That's the worst.
It's the worst part. It was in, like, I mean, the back straps on it were like that. Like, it was a really nice deer. And I called his dad. And I'm like, hey, the kid was like 17. And I was like, hey, I just need you to know I'm sending you a bunch of pictures right now. I don't know what he said he did. This is what he actually did, because I'm looking at all of the evidence. It's going to be fine. I'm going to get you as much as I possibly can, and we'll figure it out, and it'll be good. And he brought his son to pick it up, and he made his son apologize to me. And I'm like, listen, you don't need to apologize to me. Just, I looked at him. I was like, I get it. I had the head in the freezer. Like, I was doing a Euro mount for him. I'm like, the tines on the thing were like this. I'm like, I get it. I understand why you did what you did. But you need to rein it in a little bit and take a better shot, because you could have gotten this trophy buck and also gotten a lot more meat. Like, you could have utilized more of this animal. And he's like, yes, sir. Like, and I'm like, sir, don't say that. Like, but, and his dad was just like, thank you. We'll be back next year. Well, 100. And I'm like, cool. Perfect.
There was a guy I used to work with. I'd call him sir just to get that same reaction. He'd always tell me, calling me sir is like putting an outhouse in an elevator. It just doesn't belong. And it doesn't sound right.
It doesn't fit. It really doesn't.
Oh.
But deer season's always fun. I honestly, at this point, because I've done equal amount. I've done 16 bears and 16 deer this year. I'd rather do bears. I'd rather
do bears.
I think I'm at that point where I'm like, I'd rather cut up bears than deer.
Really?
Yep.
Did our first two
Yeah, I saw that.
Got my
That was
first two. We cut them up yesterday.
How'd
So
you
that
like
was interesting.
Yeah, I think I'd rather do bears.
They're just big pigs. And sometimes they're not even big pigs. Sometimes
These ones were decent. I mean, I don't even know what to really charge for bear. So we're probably way cheaper than we need to be. But I was like, don't know until you try it type situation. We almost had 4 more yesterday come up from PA, but they never called. I don't know if they found somebody else to do it. But nobody's really doing them in this area. So there's good possibility next year we're going to be doing a lot more.
Yeah, I'm the bear guy.
Yeah.
I've been called and been like, hey, are you the bear guy? I'm like, I guess I am now.
Yes, sir.
I didn't think they were that bad to do, really. I mean, Earl actually is the one that skun him out. I was doing deer while he was skinning the bear.
Yeah.
So, but he's done bear down in PA.
Right. Aaron, I've done equal this year. I've done 16 bears and 16 deer. So, I mean, I charge a little bit more for bears, but I didn't do that till halfway through the season.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, I don't know, like deer is just such a cookie cutter, like get it out the door. Bear is more like, all right, you're working for it. It's going to be interesting, and none of them are going to be the same.
Yeah.
The more value-added product you add into the deer, though, the longer it takes because you're breaking them down into what they want, and you got to. That's what we're running into this year. We're trying to find our rhythm, and then next year we'll probably add some more stuff on. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm happy with where we're at, but we're also trying to get our beef and pork and everything else out the door. And the same, we got Thanksgiving this week, so everybody will be off Thursday. I'll probably be here working for a while, and then we don't have an office person yet, so I'm still doing a bunch of the paperwork. Danae took this week off to help with that. I'm doing the phone calls, calling people. I'm taking all the, cashing people out. And then I got to pull people to pull boxes, box stuff. So it's just figuring everything out. Everything's still new. We're still brand new. So trying to get a rhythm.
You walk into my shop and I look like that mad scientist where it's like you walk into his office and it's just like things packed to the ceiling, but he knows exactly what he's grabbing when he's grabbing it. I'm like, I walk in and I just have to stand there and I just go, nope, you're in this freezer over here.
Yep.
Because again, I don't know. I like how I'm set up. If I had an employee, it would be nice, but at the same time, I'm like, you're just going to get in my way.
Yeah.
Like,
well, you find someone that you can really flow with. You do double your stuff pretty easily.
Well, then it's like the hard part about this is it's like, again, this always happens during deer season because again, we're going into fall and everything getting cold. So like this week, Wednesday, Thursday,
not you.
I didn't have I completely lost the ground on the pig fence. So the pigs were pushing through and the feeders were trying to get out and everything like that. And I was like, well, I guess that's today. I guess I'm not in the shop. But even at the same time, all my freezers were full. So I couldn't put anything else in the freezer anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So
I know my camera's doing that weird thing. I don't know why it does that. Sorry.
So I had to spend the whole day. I had to find my grounds. Then I had to load red by myself, which was a peach.
Yeah.
Like he's a good pig and he went pretty easy, but that could have gone sideways real quick.
Yep.
Like I know he's a big pig. He made that trailer feel small.
Joe, are you inspected?
Not yet. We're almost done with our paperwork.
Okay. So you don't have to worry about working around inspection too while you're doing all these custom deer.
No, not this year. Next year we will be.
Next year. Have fun with that.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. We just got to play it. We're taking this year as a learning, see where we're going to be with it and like what our game plan for next year is. We might shorten the window of when we're taking deer, how many deer we take in. We're using this as like a learning curve year and see what, because we're in that, like you said, if it's just a basic cut, are we actually making money?
Yeah.
And where is it worth it? I enjoy deer season because I I enjoy the chaos of it, but I also enjoy the talking to the hunters and stuff because one, I don't really have time to hunt myself that much. And two, I'm here with the same people in the shop every single day, and I never leave here. I live right next to my shop. I don't leave this spot that often. I don't get to the store hardly anymore. So having all these new faces to talk to, it's kind of nice. But at the same time, it's like, all right, I heard the story already. I got like last Sunday there was no way. We were here till 10 or 11 o'clock trying to skin the rest of the deer came in. They started driving in at 7. They didn't stop until 5 or 6 at night. Yeah. There was a whole line down the road. They just kept coming. And I was here by myself from 7 a.m. till 10:30. I'm like texting people. I'm like, hey, you want to skin deer today? And then my brother showed up, and then Jill and Earl showed up. Danae came over and started just doing intakes, doing paperwork and tagging deer. And
Haas, her name is Ames.
Hi.
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't know how to do what they did with their fancy little thing where they put their name on top. I don't know how to do that.
Sorry.
So nobody taught me anything. They just kind of threw me in here.
Nope. I gave you almost zero instructions. I said, click the link, put your name in, good to go.
Oh, I think I figured it out though.
I was going to say, and honestly, I probably couldn't talk you through it now. I did that a year and a half ago. I couldn't do that again.
Yeah. It automatically stays once you set it up. So,
yeah. Don't give us too much credit. Well,
there we go. I figured it out.
Since unfortunately Aaron isn't here, but we have 3 processors here in different phases of the inspection setup.
Yep.
I know I forgot to stitch Aaron's video on this on TikTok, but talking about the possibility of Thomas Massey being head of agriculture and Joel Salatin sitting on the board of the USDA. What are our thoughts on that? Because I know how I feel about it. And I'm like, for what I do, it could possibly be a game changer for me to not have to go through as much stuff to get to where, say, Ames is of being able to sell product and stuff. But once again, we're in very different parts of the country where things change, I feel like.
I don't know. I feel like it could go in so many directions if they open it up. And I look at it, I think when it comes to the raw products, I'm not like too concerned. I think it'll go in some really good directions. I think I'm more concerned about where are we going to go with cooked products.
Mm-hmm.
No, all right. Yeah.
And Joe, do you have a smoker and things like that? Are you guys doing any cooked products?
Yeah. So right now we're starting off with just our ham and bacon is inspected, but eventually we will be adding snack sticks, probably summer sausage, stuff like that. As we get the crew to support that, and then another smokehouse. But yeah, I definitely agree with that. But at the same time, I think the pushback with the USDA on that, honestly, is
you too, buddy.
Have a good night. Thanks for stopping in and chatting with us.
Yeah, he does 1,600. I'd love to know his setup. That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. I think it would have been easier on my part because I have no desire to sell across state lines. But with the USDA, I think their biggest concern is all the work that they're looking to lose. For smaller shops like myself, it's like, all right, I'm done jumping through your hoops. See ya. I could still sell individual cuts. Honestly, I think because the big industrial plants are still going to be USDA. They're always going to be USDA because they're selling meat nationwide.
Yeah.
But smaller plants like myself and others that are USDA to appease, I'm only going full USDA because the way New York has it set up, it's easier for me to just go through and go full USDA, and then I can sell, or my farmers can sell, my customers. That's the biggest thing we're doing it for right now is I have a large list of customers that are waiting for that USDA sticker so they could sell at farmers markets and restaurants and little grocery stores. They have their own little storefronts. That's one of the biggest reasons we're doing that. Eventually, will we go the retail route? Possibly. We're still in the do we or don't we? That's future stuff. I'm not even too concerned with that right now. Everybody stops and asks. I'm sure it'll be a huge hit in our area. But I think it could be good, but it also could be bad. Definitely with the, like you said, the cooked products and stuff. Without that regulation and oversight, there is that possibility of people getting sick or worse. But like also with what Kyle and I have said, you're only going to do that one time. You get that name behind you, you're done. I mean, most people, they get sick at a restaurant, get food poisoning at a restaurant. You're probably not going back to that restaurant anymore. Okay. So the small processors like Kyle, that's serious about it, and that's his livelihood, and he really wants to put out a good quality product, they're going to do very well with it, and it's going to change their business 100%. And then the other ones that are doing it just for the money, they're probably going to run themselves out because they're going to cause issues. People are going to get sick. Product's going to get ruined. But those processors probably don't have a great name for themselves to start with.
Yeah. All right. So the chat's given us some breaking news. So apparently they skipped over Massey, and
they have Brooke Rollins.
Yeah, Brooke Rollins, who apparently was in 4-H and stuff like that. Aaron says she's from Texas and was big in prison reform. Okay. So we'll see. Again, all of a sudden, I am very not optimistic as soon as I hear she's from Texas. I'm like, that's big cattle country. That's big USDA country. That doesn't make me feel good.
That's where the USDA regs come from. And right. I wish they would divide it. Like over so many head is a certain set, and then under so many head of whatever, a different set, because they uphold us smaller processors. We're not doing thousands of animals a day to the same regulations.
I guarantee you that 90% of processors in New England do what one of those big slaughterhouses do in a day. That should not be the same regulations. We should not have the same regulations as someone that does 5,000 head of cattle a day.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't even know if it's okay. I don't agree with the regulation comment. Like, we obviously need to have the same protocols. Like, we still have to be able to, we still need to be making sure we're doing our CCPs and controlling bacteria on the carcasses and things like that. Like, the regulations need to be the same. I guess what frustrates me and is hard for me is that I don't have an HR department. I don't have a HACCP person who's sitting around doing my HACCP all the time. Yep. So when I get something, I got my annual review this past week, and it's 40 pages that I have to do. It's the middle of deer season. I have 30 days to get this done. They put 2 PIPs, so plant improvement projects that have to go on it. They gave me till February to finish those. It's like, I don't have a maintenance crew. I don't have any of this. I'm working in a building that was built in 1947. I understand that these things need to be done, but you're putting so much.
But also, do they need to be done just to fit to what they want done? That's the difference. To do this job safely and productively, do they need to be done? Or because some guy in a suit who's never been next to a cow says, oh no, this needs to be done in order for you to do your job the way we want it done.
I spray all my carcasses with lactic acid. Mm-hmm. Okay, I don't need to have a direct observation every month. I'm back there on the kill floor every day with the staff. We pay attention. There's me back there. There's another head butcher back there and an inspector. So whoever's washing and spraying them, there's 3 people paying attention to them. Like, we already know. Like, why are we doing this direct observation? I got to have them write it down every single time they do it, what time they did it at. Like, that is the amount of paperwork that goes into it is like, it's a waste of my time. It's a waste of money. And that, I think that's what bothers me is like, we need to have the regulations. I have to spray with the lactic acid. And I understand that you want to make sure it's getting done, but can we do it in a way that like you said, if I'm doing less than 10 head of beef, can I just sign all 10 head of beef got sprayed with lactic acid, not spray 5 signatures for each beef?
And also it's like, hey, why don't you let us be a goddamn adult and run a business? Like, what
so that's more so what I was meaning, not really regulation wise, but
but it's how do we say that without them thinking we don't want to do the things that are important?
And also the problem is all of us aren't exactly like soft and cuddly. A government agency is going to come up and have a conversation with us and us go, thank you for your time and thank you for everything you've done for us. And
it's the way they do it too. They uphold us to the paperwork. Like, our paperwork's been nitpicked every single time someone's come in here that tweak this, change this, because they literally take the word of your HACCP plan, but they let it be interpreted by inspector. So today I have this inspector.
Interpreted 100%. Because every single one of them interprets it differently. My annual review, I literally got furious because I looked at it. I looked at 2 bullet points, and one of them was changing something back that my yearly annual review last year made me change.
Right.
So this person interpreted differently, and now they're making me change it back to the thing that I had to change last year.
Yep.
It's a waste of my flipping time.
And again, I've talked about this before. I've seen inspectors pass beef that I wouldn't feed to my dogs. Like, I've seen them pass animals that it's like
pass with cancer that was going to the school.
Yeah.
And
it's like I've seen, but it's because they're going down the checklist. Oh, there's nothing in the cheeks. Yep, all the organs look good. Yep, carcass looks fine. There's a piece of hair up there that's never going to see a retail tray. But no, make sure you get that off. That's the most important thing on this carcass. Besides the fact that it has no fat on its body, and every piece of fat that was there is now just either bubbled over or just a rind that's going to take a Sawzall to get through. And it's like, how is that okay? And I watched the owner of the slaughterhouse look at him and go, glad you said that. That's going in a report because this thing's going in the rendering barrel. There is not a chance this thing's going in my walk-in. And you should be ashamed of yourself for even passing it. I mean, and he just sat there like, it's like,
and not all inspectors are bad by any means. I've got super lucky with the one we're getting.
That's amazing.
Great. And like, the thing that irritates me is they're only required to look at 10% going through slaughter of what you're doing for the day.
Yeah.
So you get 10,000 head of cows coming through. That's 1,000 of those actually need to be checked.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought they had to do 100%. They have to stamp every single one.
Nope.
You have to stamp every one. They only have to do 10% because we're smaller. We get heavier oversight than the big places. The big plants are only 10% because they're so fast paced and understaffed. Yep.
That's it.
Yeah, that was part of the learning curve with this. They're only required, but because I don't know how many you do on a slaughter day, but if you're less than 20 animals, that one inspector has a lot more time to look that animal over, which is a good thing. It's good for us that they're doing that.
Yeah.
But also it's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
You know, and you wonder why we have all these outbreaks.
Right. And it's like, so Aaron says, basically inspectors are needed, but the system is broken. I don't.
Yeah.
I think, yes, I do think the system is broken, but I also think I don't feel a need for an inspector in some scenarios. Like,
I don't think the inspector.
I don't think I need an inspector. I've spent my entire career in the meat industry cutting meat for retail, whether that be from a box, whether that be from a hanging carcass from a USDA facility. I know what goes into it. I know the process to get it from A to B safely and to be safe for human consumption.
Yeah. And I agree with what you're saying.
Like, and I know
to that extent, because
inspectors that do have a background in meat processing. A quarter of the inspectors I've met could break down a cow.
Yeah. I definitely agree with what you're saying.
Easy a quarter.
For you, but what about the other 10 guys that are a single person shop that's never been in a USDA facility and they learn from their grandpa or dad or the guy around the corner? They don't have that oversight. Luckily for me, for you, we all have been in that inspection. We know exactly what we're supposed to do. We know the regulations. We know the cleanliness side of it. I've seen some people come through that's never worked in a USDA inspected facility, and it's like, ooh,
what do you do?
Like, even like, I mean, Kyle, you started on the retail side of it.
Mm-hmm.
The retail stores that you worked in versus a USDA inspected facility, how different is the cleanliness aspect in that meat department?
Facilities are leaps and bounds cleaner. My shop is leaps and bounds cleaner.
Yes,
I've worked at.
And that's what I think is interesting, because like we're talking about the inspector being there. I don't think a lot of people realize that our inspectors are there 100% of the time during slaughter, but they're only there for probably 5% of the processing. Yeah. So the actual breakdown of the beef, they're there significantly less.
Yes.
Which is where I think you're going to have more contamination. Like your product is sitting out. Like we could be breaking down a beef and then just let the trim sit there.
Yeah.
If we wanted to.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot more potential for food contamination going through the grinder, getting packaged, for the time that you're, a dirty table, putting it on dirty table, going from one carcass to another carcass. I mean, there's so many more issues coming up there than on slaughter.
If you think about it from the perspective of 3 dudes sitting in a room, one guy who worked at a grocery store and kind of knows about cutting meat, and 2 other guys that are lawyers that don't really know much about cutting meat. And they're like, what's the most dangerous part? Well, obviously when you're killing it, that's when all the bacteria happens. And it's like, are you sure? Have you ever done it? Because that might be one of the cleanest parts of it. Because you're able to prep it enough to hose it down. You can hose down the carcass after the fact, trim off everything you need to, spray it down with either the lactic acid. I use distilled vinegar. Like, that's a fairly clean carcass, or not a fairly, that's a clean carcass once you're done.
It's a clean carcass.
And then it goes into a cooler immediately.
Yep. And
then all of a sudden, like, then it's safe, then it's fine. But they don't think about it. It's like, all right, well, now you have the not unskilled, but like, again, you're talking about like, you could just leave trim out, because you could have some college kid working for you for the summer that doesn't really know what he's doing. He just knows, I need to put this meat in this grinder and put it in this bag.
Yep.
And that has almost no oversight, which again, I don't like. Again, I have a hard time arguing this, because there's a part of me that as somebody who does this professionally and stuff like that, where it's like, I can point out the flaws in their oversight, but in pointing out those flaws, it like almost sounds like I'm going, yeah, there should be regulation on this. I'm like, there needs to be leniency in some of this. At the end of the day, I do not think that us small scale guys should be held to the same accord as somebody processing 5,000 head of cattle a day. It makes no sense.
And in a lot of ways, we're not. But like, I know, so I'm trying to think. Kyle, you've been doing this by yourself for how long?
4 years.
4 years. And then Joe, you just got it. So we're any of you doing this in December of 2022 when we switched to the Appendix A and B?
Yeah, I was in With 2022, no, I wasn't actually processing in 2022.
Okay, because that was like the big uproar with Appendix A and B, which you're probably dealing with your hams and bacons, because that wasn't a mandatory for people doing smoking under 500,000 pounds a year, and now it is. And that was like they redid it, and so like if you go to the end of Appendix, I think it's B, they have the scientific gaps. So I fall under science. I pushed hard with the state. They did not want us doing any of the scientific gaps. And I do scientific gap number 3 or 5. I can't remember on my hat. It's on my HACCP plan for my hams and bacons and things, because I can't do what that's asking.
No.
Like I had to file for one of those scientific gaps. Like I could not move towards anything else.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the humidity in my cooler or my smokehouse. I would have had to buy a brand new smokehouse, and I just didn't have the capacity to even get the old one out. So that the building was built around the smokehouse is in there. Like I'd have to rip a whole wall out to move it. Like there's no way to get one in or out. I don't know what I'm going to do when that day comes.
Right.
I'm trying not to think about it. It's going to be a ceiling probably thing where we take it off out of the ceiling and then drop a new one in. But I don't have humidity in there. Control. So we had to go off a scientific gap, and that took forever to push that. It took probably 8 months of arguing with them legally on it.
Right.
Yeah. And they're like, that's where our biggest hang up has been, was the smoke product. We're getting through it now. We got it figured out, but I had to kind of tweak how I was doing things and change it to meet what they wanted, which is fine. I want to make sure I'm doing it right. I definitely don't want to do smoke product the wrong way and have that chance of making someone sick. But it was the smoke product has probably been the biggest hang up of the whole HACCP plan. And then
go look at the scientific gaps. It makes it 100 times easier.
All right.
You just have to push them and make them understand that those are legal.
Yep.
It's like they didn't want to do them. I'm like, they're in here for a reason. They're in here for a reason, for people like the smaller plants that cannot facilitate this other stuff that you want us to do.
Yeah.
But the actual on the inspector side, they just wouldn't. My regional inspector wouldn't agree to it. They called in the head of the meat and poultry, and he was saying I couldn't do it. And I was like, then why is it in here?
Right.
I had to end up calling the USDA Fed office in Arkansas and talk to them about it. And they were like, no, you can do it. It's in there. That's why it's in there. So
again, no one talks to each other. No. Everyone. Yeah. It's.
Well, with the carcass stamp thing.
Oh, yeah.
So they pass a thing, if it's being fully processed in your facility and packaged, you don't have to stamp it anymore.
Even with the not for custom, or
the custom, yes, the custom, the not for sale, the custom cut needs to be stamped so it's clearly separated and identified in your cooler, so it doesn't accidentally get mixed up.
Right.
Okay.
But for a shop that's only doing like USDA, they never do custom. So I just ordered almost $1,300 worth of stamps, and they're like, yeah, we'll probably make you stamp carcasses for a couple months. But it's like, at this point, I might as well just keep stamping them, because I just spent $1,300 on stamps. And I might as well just use them.
And honestly, how much did those
what kind of stamp did you buy?
The custom stamps that have my USDA numbers and everything on them.
Do you not? Okay, I guess I'm confused on what, like when you're stamping the actual carcass, you don't just have the ink that you dip in and then you just.
Yep, those stamps cost me $1,300.
Your actual
my phone died.
Stamp?
Nope. And there he goes.
His metal stamp cost him $1,300.
Yeah, because it's coming from the government.
Oh, I just realized I have to order a new one when we go federal. Oh my Lord.
There you go. Well, we'll go ahead and pop Joe down because he died.
Okay. He died.
So We're up over an hour here. We got serious at the end of that.
Yeah, we did. We were all like, kind of like, what are we talking about tonight? And then we all got.
We
we're
got
gonna
real
talk about
heated and
inspection.
serious.
Oh,
Well,
I get real serious about Appendix A and B. That was like the worst 6 months of my life. Like that was awful.
I'm not doing smoke product. I'm just not doing it. It's not worth it. And again, I'm custom, but I'm just not playing around with it.
I still don't do hams inspected. I can't. I just cannot get them around that. I cannot. It's too much work.
Yeah.
It's too much work to be inspected for smoked products. So
it sure is. Well, Ames, we're up over an hour here.
Yep.
Where can everyone find you?
TikTok, at Butcher with the Braid, and that's about it.
Well, fantastic. And obviously you can find Joe everywhere at Blakely Acres, YouTube, TikTok. Let's get him that he needs 40 people to go live. So we'll get that. That's my mission this week. We'll get Joe to 1,000 people on TikTok. And also you can find me everywhere at Backwoods Butcher 603. That is TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram, even though it's a wasteland that I never post anything on. So I appreciate it. I apologize that we missed last week. Ames, I appreciate you coming on. This was a bit of it's chaos. It's Misfit Farmers. I don't know why we expected any different.
It was good.
All right, everybody. Thank you again, and we will see you next time.